Hey guys, Sleepy Reader here. I'm going to try and do a rundown of a lot of comic books I've read in the past week and a half, 2 weeks. For starters, Punk Rock Jesus. This was great, building perfectly off the previous 2 issues. I'm really sad it's only going to be 6 issues. Feels to me like something that could go on for 12 issues very easily. But art was fantastic. The story was really rich. All the characters continue to just really click and make sense and grow. So we get now the clone of Jesus as a, I don't know, 10, 11, 12-year-old. It's getting really interesting. This is definitely the best comic book I've read this month by far. Scarlet Spider number 9. Scarlet Spider number 9 was a conclusion of the story arc, of the 3-issue story arc, where I jumped on the first issue of this story arc. I liked the first 2 issues a lot. This seemed like kind of a weak or rushed ending a little bit to me. And next month we're going into a crossover called Minimum Carnage. I don't know how many issues that's going to be, but I think I'm going to skip those. Crossovers just, I don't want to buy more comic books right now, and crossovers are usually pretty weak anyway. So yeah, I'll see how Scarlet Spider is on the other end of its crossover. Journey into Mystery, third part of its crossover with Thor, Everything Burns. This issue was excellent. I really liked the last issue of Journey into Mystery, and the Thor story in the Mighty Thor comic book that came in between, the part 2 of the story, was less good. But things are really good here. The art's really good. The story has lots of nice twists and turns. I even liked the font of the lettering. I liked the lettering. It worked really well for Thor. It was still very readable, but had that old-fashioned look. My only complaint is the coloring. I still think the coloring in the few issues of this I've read is just wrong for the art. It seems to just cover it up and make it look ugly, while the art itself seems great. Yeah, the writing is really good here. It's co-written by Fraction and Kieran Gillen. And I don't know who is doing the really great dialogue and everything here, but it's really good. Fantastic Four, I thought the last issue or 2 of Fantastic Four has been a little weaker, and this is quite good. The story is to be continued in the next issue of FF. So that's a little bit, I get both, so it's not a problem for me, but I always think that's a bit of a ripoff to do it that way. Great artwork by Ryan Stegman. The more I see of his work, the more I love it. There's a nice scratchy feel here, but very detailed and wonderfully laid out, and the action scenes and all this, everything's done really well. Great art, and a fun story about the wizard who's gone insane, and AIM, one of those many secret organizations having taken over a whole country, and their negotiations with Reed Richards. Very interesting stuff. Demon Knights Zero. Demon Knights has been one of those comics that I read and enjoy, but it's got a lot of weaknesses. This may be the best issue of Demon Knights I've read, even though it's a 0 issue, and I've mostly not liked 0 issues. The story is just really good. It's a really good sort of origin of the demon, a la, Paul Cornell's version of the demon. The artwork is really nice by Bernard Chang. At first I didn't think I was going to like the artwork, because I don't usually go for this kind of style, but it just worked really well. So a great issue, the best issue of Demon Knights so far. So if you want to start or try out Demon Knights, this would be the issue to pick up. Batman and Robin, this was a very fun origin for Robin. I mean, we already essentially know Robin's origins, but we get more details, and we get absolutely fantastic, fantastic art. Pat Gleason is doing, he's always been doing good art on here, but he's just getting better and better. I think this is definitely the case of a decent story brought to life incredibly well and made much better by the art. You know, it's a fun origin story for Damian, but not mind blowing. I think if you took out the art, but the art just does make it incredibly good. My not really complaint, but it's very brutally violent, and scenes of Damian stabbing people in the eye and cutting off arms. And I just happened to be reading it when my daughter comes along and says, "Daddy, I want to look at the comic book you're reading." And it's like, no, you can't look at Batman and Robin. It's too grown up. And that was unfortunate. I then had to hand her another comic book, which she then manhandled. I think they could do it without the violent, without so much gore, but it wouldn't have bothered me if I didn't have a 4-year-old nearby. I was afraid she would see the scene where Robin cuts off arms. Okay, and then another Zero issue, Frankenstein, Agent of Shade. This was a decent, good origin story. Frankenstein, Agent of Shade is great, so this is just, in terms of Frankenstein issues, it's a good, but not as, in the context of Frankenstein, it's an okay issue. It's a pretty interesting view of Victor Frankenstein as a total villain, and we also get a little bit of a image of Shade, the secret organization existing back in the early 1800s and being high tech already then, which makes you wonder more about it, and it starts to seem like it's another Stormwatch. I was hoping it was something a little different. But it would be fun maybe if they do Zero issues again, or some other issue where they go back and just explore what Shade's all about. And maybe people already know about Shade. I don't know anything about Shade beyond what I've learned in Frankenstein's. I read the Frankenstein trade and reviewed it last week. That was issues 1 through 7, so then I went out and got all the other issues. And they did not disappoint. This issue where Lady Frankenstein and Frankenstein go and face their child who they thought was dead was very powerful and just, a good horror thing. Unfortunately, that was the departing of Lady Frankenstein, at least for now. She's one of my favorite characters, so I hope she comes back. Then Jeff Lemire's last issue writing was a sort of invisible crossover with Animal Man. It dealt with some of the things that had happened in Animal Man without actually having Animal Man and Frankenstein meet. But Frankenstein does meet the Rot, and he and Shade take out some portion of the Rot. And that was pretty good. As usual with the Rot, I'm a little tired of the Rot, and Frankenstein's going to be going back to the Rot. But he may end up being my favorite part of the Rot crossovers. And then we have a series where Frankenstein is trying to root out a mole from the agency, from Shade. I'm starting to wonder how big Shade is. It's starting to turn out to be much bigger than I thought. They even have access and headquarters in these other artificial dimensions. Here's a sort of upside down city in I think it's called Untro Metropolis or something, but very cool. Throughout Frankenstein, the artwork by Alberto Ponticelli is absolutely fantastic, and the inks, when the new inker Wayne Fauscher came on, go very well with his artwork. I just love Ponticelli, and he's perfect for this sort of superhero secret agent meets horror. He just does it so well. So as Frankenstein tries to uncover the mole and the conspiracy within Shade, he finds out about this giant sea beast called Leviathan, and they have a city inside Leviathan where they send the retired Shade agents who they don't want to be out in the world. I'm not finding good pictures to show you, but that's really cool. So we got even more sort of a twisted view of Shade. The artwork continues to be incredible. Issue 12, we get Frankenstein defeating the Leviathan, coming through, and ending with what is obviously a lead-in to stuff with the rot, and something happens that I don't fully understand, actually. I hope it'll be clear once the rot gets going. I don't want to spoil it, so still a really cool issue. But I'm a little nervous about the crossover with the rot, because this is the first time something happened in Frankenstein, and I thought it was vague, and I wasn't sure what happened. So yeah, a jump on Frankenstein, people. Hopefully this will be a comic book that will last. Being, you know, all these odd DC comics, they don't usually last. And it's sad, because those are often my favorite DCs. Of course, Swamp Thing has gone on to be one, you know, was one of their odd horror things that has gone on to become a classic. But so there's always hope. Last week I read Hawkeye 1, and then I got Hawkeye 2. There's some controversy in the community about the artwork, and I can see it's very simple. But there's a lot of satisfying things about it too. Lots of great layouts. It lacks emotion because it is so simple. There's not much in the way of expression. You have to sort of eke out expression from the repetition of images and things. So in that way it does have a sort of modern art kind of look with a little bit of an Andy Warhol touches here and there. And it's not my most favorite, but it was not bad. And there are some pictures that I think are really, really cool. The story is sort of in counterbalance to the art. The story gives us a lot of texture of Hawkeye's feelings. It's a first-person story, the first-person narration. So we get a lot of Hawkeye, and it's a lot of fun. This is a fun book. I enjoy it. I don't think I love it as much as some people do. I thought David Lee was going to kiss his issue of Hawkeye, but it's good, and it's kind of unique, and it's been nice that it's been sort of one-off issues so far, that they pack a full story, and you can pick this up with any issue so far and enjoy it. You definitely do not need to dig up number 1 to read number 2. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, you know, detective novels and film noir, even though there isn't detecting in it, but the lighter kind, you know, with the banter and stuff. To make a really old movie reference, it's a little bit, I mean, not exactly, but it somehow has a little bit of the feel of the Thin Man movies, which had all kinds of film noir qualities, but really were light romps. Then a while ago, I picked up Birds of Prey, and I finally got to read. I got issues 11 and 12. Some people had talked about how they were good, and I had read digitally. I read issue number 1 when it was on sale for 99 cents, and issue number 1 was really good. It seems to have fallen off quite a bit at 11 and 12, so I don't think I'll continue picking it up. Obviously, I'm reading way too many comic books. But maybe I'll keep an eye on if anyone's reviewing it, if it starts getting better again. Because I definitely like the idea of a team book of all women. I think that has a lot of interesting angles to it. I haven't read Birds of Prey in the past. Maybe I should dig up. I think Gail Simone did it, so I should dig that up. I think this may be 2 weeks old now. I've been reading. I think I've read about 5 Iron Man issues in a row, and the more I read it, the more I like it. It's interesting comparing this to Hawkeye, and then I've also started reading The Defenders, but just a little bit so far. I can't, and I'm reading some Thor. I can't tell from one comic to another that they're all by Matt Fraction. Every Matt Fraction comic seems completely different to me so far. The Iron Man is very serious and very paced like a soap opera almost, but not that soap opera-ish. But it's got kind of a slower pace, slow reveals, and it really has been growing on me. So I'm going to be kind of sad when Fraction does leave Iron Man. This I've been getting through my subscriptions because I refuse to pay $3.99, so it comes more sporadically. Also through mail subscriptions, I'm getting Captain America, so I've read issues 15 and 16. And so far, I just say it's decent, not wowing me, but enjoyable enough. I think it's co-written by Brubaker and Colin Bunn, so it'll be interesting to see where Colin Bunn goes with it when he takes over. But I guess he won't be on it much longer because then Rick Remender's taking it over, and that'll be really interesting. It's also a lot of Captain America. It looks like Captain America's adventures are all working with S.H.I.E.L.D., and so there's all kind of like Agent of S.H.A.D.E. and like seems like a bunch of other things I'm reading have a secret agent kind of feel. I think now more than 2 weeks ago, finally read the prelude to The Rot. And that was good. Not great, in my opinion, particularly in the second half in Swamp Thing. It just seemed like a really stretched out story. Basically the whole story was them being inside the Rot and a little bit of conversation, and then they come back out and there's a surprise at the end which will make you want to read the rest. So, and then there's even more I've been reading digitally. Probably more than what I'm going to say here, but some of the new Valiant comics were on sale on Comixology for 99 cents. So I grabbed the first 3 issues of Exo Man of War and the first 2 issues of Harbinger, and they were excellent. They come with these extra sketchbooks at the end. So they're trying to get people to buy their digital editions by putting extras into them, which I thought was unusual. So you get to see the pencils of some of the pages, which is somewhat fun. But the artwork in Exo Man of War is just dazzling, and the story is very, very good, but not. I don't feel like I have to get it right away, so since I haven't started from the beginning, I won't be buying the $4 issues. I will either wait for more cheap digital issues or more likely get some trades in the future. Harbinger the same way. It was really well written, good art. Valiant is doing a really good job, as everyone's already said, but I found out for myself how good it is. For a also ran small company, they've made very good choices on their creative people. I think they're willing to pay, to do good comics. I assume, being starting out, they have to pay these people good money, because this is quality. This is as good as the best of Marvel and DC, if not in many cases better. So yeah. Those are my relatively quick thoughts. I think I've now gone through 20 comics or so in 20 minutes, so that's pretty good for me. I will come back at you guys probably with a vlog next or some other video in a while. I hope everyone's having a good time reading comics, and I'll look for your video.